called the lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just a convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway sues EDP Kratom for allegedly making and selling synthetic opioids illegally. The Attorney General's petition alleges EPD Kratom is still making 7.0 and MGM-15 and selling both in Missouri gas stations and smoke shops without it being regulated. The petition also claims the company doesn't disclose dangerous ingredients in its products. Now, Kratom itself is not illegal in Missouri, but Hanaway claims the practice of not testing the product and not putting warnings on packaging does violate Missouri law. The Attorney General is asking the court to fine the company and make it stop production.
406, and welcome into the Monday, May 11th edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And we have on the line with us Catherine Hanaway, who's the Missouri Attorney General. We'll get to her in just a second. But, of course, if you're watching on the stream, no, it's not Tuesday. It's only Monday, but my partner is at the Jefferson City Bureau there in the Capitol. Mr. Speaker, how are you today?
Doing great, Chris. They needed an extra set of eyeballs up here because we're in the final 5 days of session when only really bad stuff often passes. So we're keeping an eye on things and hoping that 6 p.m. comes sooner than later so the people's personal freedoms, liberties, and pocketbooks will be safe once again.
And we will talk to you later in the show, of course, about all the goings on in Jefferson City. But as I said, we have on the line with us Missouri's Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. Madam Attorney General, how are you today?
I'm great, Chris. It's great to talk to you. Great to talk to you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad you're there keeping an eye on things. There can't be too many people watching this last week.
Exactly. Well, one thing that you are watching, Madam Attorney General, is this situation with marijuana and kratom and all these terms that I've never even heard of before, OH7 and all of that. Tell us what's going on right now.
Well, your listeners should be aware of this product called 7-OH. It's derived from kratom, which people I know have seen the kratom CBD signs all over town. Kratom is a plant. Some would argue that the plant in its natural form is safe and has some health benefits. I don't know how that argument comes out. What I know for sure is when they distill out 7-OH, it becomes a synthetic opioid. This is what a lot of people call gas station heroin. And it's very dangerous. It's highly addictive. That's why we've sued these companies to prohibit its production and sale in Missouri. And I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me as I've been going around the state talking about this, saying, yeah, my son, my daughter, my brother, my friend has bought this stuff thinking it was safe and now ended up with a really serious problem of addiction.
Tim? I guess he's having a little technical difficulties. You know, Catherine, one thing that I learned about these synthetic drugs is it's hard for law enforcement to stay on top of it because all they do once you make a law against this, then they just change a molecule or two and change it to something else, and that kind of makes it semi-legal, and you're always kind of one step behind. Is that kind of the same situation with this?
You're 100% right, Chris. That's exactly what's going on here. It is legal to sell it in Missouri. We are having to go at these companies under a false advertising claim.
Oh, okay.
We're alleging that they're not disclosing what's in the product and that they're saying it's non-addictive and doesn't get you high, all of which aren't true. But it does feel a little like going after Al Capone for tax evasion. I mean, we're having to kind of go through the side door instead of taking it head on because these profiteers who want to make tons of money off of people's addictions just do, as you said, keep changing one molecule or two molecules. And so they argue that it's legal, and it makes it super tough for police and local prosecutors to shut them down.
Catherine, are the proponents of this arguing that this substance, this derivation, is legal because of the statewide vote that we had several years ago on the legalization of recreational marijuana?
Well, this is not related to marijuana at all. This is not
at
a
all.
cannabinoid.
Okay.
At all. So it's derived from kratom. So they're not making that argument. And frankly, they're not making a lot of arguments to justify the sale of 7-OH in Missouri. They do want kratom to remain legal. And so we're getting a lot of lobbying and arguments on that. And I think that's something that, we're going to continue to hear about for a couple of years. But boy, I can't encourage people enough to talk to their loved ones about this product. I've heard from lots and lots of people who thought that their family member was buying something safe over the counter because it's legal, and it's killing people. I mean, people are overdosing from this pretty regularly. The FDA says it's 3 times more powerful than morphine. So please, please, please stay away from this stuff.
Speaking with Catherine Hanaway, she is, of course, Missouri's Attorney General. Madam Attorney General, we know that the drug cartels have expanded their business in the drug trafficking, fentanyl, and other drugs. Are there any evidence that the drug cartels are involved with kratom and 7-OH or any of that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they've seen an opportunity to make money. Now, what is a little bit different is that the cartels don't have the relationships with the established retail outlets that some of these folks who've stayed just in cannabinoid, kratom, and 7-OH do. And so it's a little bit harder for them to sell them through legitimate channels. But that's also what's scary for, the average person, that your kid can walk in and buy this stuff in a gas station, which is terrifying. It's not your, street hand-to-hand buy kind of situation. And that's why I think it's so important to go after these guys.
Catherine, on another issue, on another front that you are battling, wanted to bring up the subject of the video lottery terminals and have you provide us an update on that. Unfortunately, it looks like the legislature is not going to reach a resolution on a proposal this year, and I don't have a dog in the fight on this issue. I have a lot of dogs in a lot of fights, but not on this one. But I do see what could potentially happen is that at some point, the folks who are on either or all sides of this issue may instead just go to the ballot once again, like we seem to be legislating a lot these days in the state of Missouri, hence the need for IP reform, my opinion. So it's unfortunate that it looks like that bill is going to stay stalled out. I guess anything could happen in the next 4 days. But in the meantime, you're dealing with the enforcement of these arguably illegal devices. Could you give us an update on what's going on that front and what you think you might be pursuing next?
Yeah, I think these are illegal slots. At least one federal judge has said the same thing. The Missouri Gaming Commission has said the same thing. The one and only time there's been a trial on these machines, which was in Platte County, that they were found to be illegal and were destroyed. And so we have reached an agreement with the largest purveyor. And when I say we, the Attorney General's office and the 2 U.S. attorneys' offices here in Missouri have reached an agreement with the largest purveyor, which is Torch, to shut down their machines. They are in the process of doing it. I think they're getting very close to having all of their machines shut down, which is, around 17,000 machines statewide. But that's about half of the total machines. So we're continuing to talk to the other purveyors of machines. We did execute, the Highway Patrol executed some seizure warrants today in Boone County to take some additional machines. We keep working on this issue every single day in conjunction with the U.S. Attorney's offices. And hopefully people are seeing it as they go to gas stations around the state that these machines are being shut down. And I want to encourage the small business owners who've been persuaded that these are legal, that they aren't legal, and please just shut down voluntarily. And then you won't have the Highway Patrol showing up at your establishment serving a seizure warrant. That's why we've sent out a communication with Melissa Smith-Price to shut them down. And, or Price-Smith, I'm sorry, I get that wrong a lot. It's important that these small business, nobody wants to go after the small business owners. Please just shut them down voluntarily. You won't have any beef with us. We are continuing to talk to the people who own these machines and put them in gas stations and convenience stores. And even the Highway Patrol found 12 machines in a home where people were just running a little illegal casino. It's a tragedy that Missouri has allowed this to proliferate. If the legislature at some point, either this session, and I think you're right, Tim, it's very unlikely they're going to do it this session, but if the legislature does fix it at some point in the future, then I'll enforce whatever that law is if they decide they're legal. This isn't a moral crusade. It's a law enforcement crusade. I think anytime you have $1 billion cash business, which is what this is in Missouri, you're encouraging all kinds of criminal elements. And that's why it's such a high priority for me to shut it down.
Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway is on the line with us. Attorney General, the Jackson County judge last week denied your office's request for an emergency injunction against CBD American Shamus. Tell us about that case. What's going on there?
So American Shaman is the largest producer of 7-OH in the state. We asked for some pretty extraordinary relief, which was for the judge to shut them down without any kind of an evidentiary hearing. He said, look, I think there is some factual dispute here. They have experts, you have experts. I want to go to a full-blown hearing. I can understand why he took that perspective. The reason that we sought sort of emergency relief is because people are dying from this stuff. This is just a delay. This is not really a loss for us. It just means we're going to have to go to trial and put on evidence, which, everybody deserves their day in court. So that's where we're headed next. I'm pretty confident we're going to win there. But as I said, we're having to be a little bit clever on shutting down these producers of 7-OH because it's not yet illegal in Missouri. I think that's something else the legislature is going to have to handle next session.
Madam Attorney General, would you refresh my memory on this? I'm thinking of something that was brought to my attention last week regarding the 2030 census, and if my memory's correct, I believe it was your office that filed like one of these national level lawsuits to deal with that issue. A lot of us question the last census, as I think we rightfully should, and whether states were appropriated the correct numbers. With the 2030 census around the corner, a lot of folks are now concerned about the next census, depending on who's in the White House. And I believe your office filed some sort of litigation on that, but am I correct or am I imagining that?
No, you're 100% correct, Mr. Speaker. We filed a lawsuit against the Department of Commerce and the Census Bureau, seeking, frankly, a new census for 2020, and then that illegal aliens not be counted in the 2030 census. And it would have a dramatic impact on both the Congress and the Electoral College. If we're successful and the Census Bureau stops counting illegal aliens in the census, Missouri would pick up 1 or 2 congressional seats. Nationwide, it would be a shift of between 11 and 14 congressional seats from liberal states to more conservative states. And it could determine the control of Congress going forward. And every congressional seat is an electoral vote. And so it would also shift 11 to 14 electoral votes, which could have an impact on who's president for the next 20 or 30 years. So it's a big suit. Right now, we're waiting for the district court judge in St. Louis to appoint 2 other judges. This is an unusual procedure where, and actually he doesn't make the appointment, the 8th Circuit makes the appointment, but where it's heard by a 3-judge panel, not just 1 judge. And we're anticipating that that's going to come down any day now in terms of the appointment of the other judges, and then we'll start briefing on it. And the reason we sued is because even if the Trump administration Census Bureau says that they won't count illegal aliens in the next census, as you said, Mr. Speaker, the next thing that'll happen is we'll get a new president and they'll change the policy back.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Madam Attorney General, speaking of appointments, last week you appointed a veteran litigator. Is his name Mark Ledlove? Am I saying that correctly? Ledlove as a deputy attorney, the veteran litigator. What signal are you trying to send there with that appointment?
Just that we're going to have the finest law firm in Missouri inside the Missouri Attorney General's office. I am so excited that Mark has joined us. He was at Bryan Cave for over 30 years. He led the civil litigation department there. He is super experienced, super knowledgeable, and great level quality.
I think she's in a tunnel.
Unfortunately, Madam Attorney General, we did not hear any of what you just said. You were kind of going in and out there. But I want to thank you for your time, of course, and updating us on everything that's going on in your office. You can reach the Madam Attorney General at ago.mo.gov and on X, AGC Hanaway. Thank you so much for your time and have a great week.
We got through a lot with her.
We got through a lot. Just the last
yes,
question we didn't hear, but I thank her always for coming on the show and updating us on all the important legal matters that are in the Attorney General's office. Tim, it's Monday, and of course, we've got Jim Talent up next. We're going to talk to him about President Trump heading to China tomorrow. We'll get his thoughts on that, and will anything worthwhile come out of it? You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL, number 1 for live and local conservative talk.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Look 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Great night tonight. Cool and sunny in the morning, mostly sunny skies, a high of 84. It's going to be a warmer day. Plenty of sunshine during the day, too. In the evening, there is an isolated thunderstorm chance, maybe some small hail or gusty winds, but these are going to be very spotty, not a lot of moisture to work with. So I think many stay dry. Just a heads up that a spot thunderstorm is possible in the evening, mainly after 8 p.m. in St. Louis. And then on Wednesday, a little cooler behind that cold front, mostly sunny and a high of 76 for a pleasant day. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This is what's happening.
I don't like to let these sick people, these thugs, these horrible, horrible people change the fabric of our life, change the course of what we do.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number 1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
We've had a lot of stormatic activity. I don't know if that's a word or not, but I hear a lot of people using it. So we'll say we coined a new phrase here. A lot of stormatic activity in and around the heartland this time of year, and there's some more storms I hear on the horizon. Are you worried about what these storms may have done to your roof? Well, don't worry. Call the experts. Corel Roofing Company standing by to assist you and your family and your homestead today. That's CORRELL, 2 R's, 2 L's, CORRELL, CorrellRoofingCo.com. CorrellRoofingCo.com is where you find them. Our new favorite roofing company here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Curtis Correll, with more than 20 plus years of experience, wants to help you and your family out. And that's the company you should call. Why? Because they're not storm chasers. They're based here in St. Louis. They're right here in St. Charles. In fact, that's their home base. They service the entire St. Louis metro and the entire St. Charles County metro as well. They are independently owned. They are family owned. They are locally owned, which means they're going nowhere. They're very happy to continue to service everyone in our region and not be chasing folks all over the country. I would never give a deposit to anyone who just knocked on my door and said, "Hey, we'll come back and fix your roof next Tuesday." Give Correll Roofing Company a call. CorrellRoofingCo.com is where you find them. They will get up on your roof. They'll check everything out, and they'll tell you exactly what's going on and show you why, and then make a recommendation to you as to whether or not you should have your roof repaired, whether you should have half of it replaced, or whether you should have the whole thing redone. And then they'll work with your insurance company on doing just that. Check them out 24/7 at CorrellRoofingCo.com. That's CorrellRoofingCo.com. Correll Roofing Company, your one-stop roofing shop.
Hey, Columbo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
What do you hope to get out of the summit in China, and how much has the war in Iran
A lot.
changed the agenda?
Look, I have a great relationship with President Xi. We're doing a lot of business, but it's smart business. We used to be taken advantage of for years with our previous presidents, and now we're doing great with China. We make a lot of money with China. I have a great relationship with President Xi, and I think you can see that with the fact that in Hormuz, they get a big percentage, 40% of their oil from Hormuz.
Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
It's Monday, and we get to speak to our favorite senator, Jim Talent. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, Chris. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Joey was a little worried about you because you did Jamie's show before ours, and he had you on for a long time, so we was hoping that you still have your voice with you, okay?
My voice is fine. And look, Jamie started off telling a story about how he'd gone to a comedy club with his 18-year-old daughter, and the opening act was evidently pretty foul-mouthed, and he felt very awkward. I said, well, I wish I'd been there because I could actually have seen Jamie Allman blush, which I didn't think was possible.
I agree with that. All right, President Trump is heading to China tomorrow. This is the first time in 10 years that a U.S. president has gone to China. President Trump met with President Xi 7 months ago. What should we expect out of this summit? Will he convince China to work with their ally in Iran and open up the Strait of Hormuz? It's in both our countries' interest to do so.
That's a good question. I think the president might try and structure incentives so that they do that. I don't think Trump is going to go in there with a lot of asks. I don't think he wants Xi to know what he wants. Here's what we've been doing. Okay, we have been shifting this competition or conflict with China, or Cold War, if you prefer, into the economic and diplomatic domains. We saw that with the president's trip to Asia. I don't know if you guys saw this, but we've signed a defense agreement with Malaysia. Now, that was some months ago. Malaysia's traditionally been pretty neutral. And then, of course, there's the economic back and forth. So what I think Trump wants is a lull in economic conflict for a while. We hit them with the tariffs. They did a rare earth sort of blockade. So I don't think he really – I think he's going to let Xi think about losing all that oil and his supply lines and the rest of it. I don't think we're going to see an ask. I think they're going to come out and they're both going to say it was pretty cordial. And I could be wrong. I think Xi may try and get Trump to say something about Taiwan shouldn't become independent, and I don't think Trump will do that. So I think they both would like things on the surface anyway to appear, reasonably polite for a while. And I think you'll see that in the summit. But I don't know, because the president surprised me before, but I would doubt that we see anything big come out of it. They may talk about some business deals and the rest of it, solve some minor issues. We'll see.
Senator, kind of a two-part question, but I think the parts are fairly related. Number one, I was wanting to have you extrapolate a little bit more as to how this Middle East conflict, this war in the Middle East, has affected China. In what ways has it affected China, positively or negatively? And second, China in general, I know this is a difficult question because there's such a closed society when it comes to their internal functionings, and there's so much propaganda that comes out about China. But I've seen some stories, Senator, that would suggest that China's economy in general has not been doing that great lately. So your comments on those two issues.
Well, on the second one, I think that's absolutely right. For years, I have not only not believed, I've just dismissed out of hand what China says about its own economic growth. They have real problems. The demographic issues are biting. They still have about 400 million poor people. China is a rich state, but a relatively poor country. Enormous property bubbles. They have a banking system that cannot price risk. They have to use capital controls to keep capital from fleeing the country. They're still producing an enormous amount of wealth, and so the state still has the money it needs to pursue its national objectives and its aggressive objectives. But they're in the middle income trap, and they're not going to get out of it without doing what they won't do, which is to actually move to a free market economy. So, and what was the first question, Tim? I'm sorry, I jumped.
How the war has affected China positively or negatively?
Well, it's they're thinking along two lines. One of them is geostrategic, and so they have now effectively lost a footprint in another important part of the world. I mean, the first happened with Venezuela, and in generally our policy to Latin and South America. Remember, they wanted to control the Panama Canal, and we've stopped them from that. And they wanted a Venezuela that was a reliable ally and could distract us in the event of a conflict in Indo-PACOM. They've lost that. They lost the oil from Venezuela. They wanted the same thing from Iran. In other words, if the balloon goes up in the Indo-Pacific, you would probably have seen Iran stirring things up in the Middle East. That's not going to happen now. So it's been a bad 6 months or so on the geostrategic front for Xi Jinping. And then, of course, the Chinese are very sensitive to their supply chains in general. The country is not mineral rich. It doesn't have a lot of, relatively speaking, arable land either. So they got to import food. So their position has weakened a lot in the last 16, 17 months, and that's really no accident. And I think they've been wrong-footed also. I mean, we have the initiative. They're waiting to see what we do. So I've been very pleased. On top of that, they cannot be very sanguine about the National Maritime Industrial Plan that the administration has underway and the budget for ship acquisition, which is we put money in for like 120 ships in the last 2 years. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to see those ships, unfortunately, because we have to rebuild, or we'll see them eventually, but we have to rebuild the industrial base. So all the arrows are pointing in the right direction for us, and many of them are pointing in the wrong direction for them.
Speaking with Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Yesterday, Senator, Iran delivered its response to President Trump's proposal to end the war. They want the U.S. to pay reparations. They want to control the Strait of Hormuz, and they want us to lift sanctions, but nothing about their nuclear program was in their response. Their foreign minister called that response generous and reasonable. Your thoughts on that?
Right. Well, the more they talk smack in this context, the more scared you know that they are. And I think right now their great fear is that we will continue the blockade, which we're going to do, but that we will also open up the strait, which we started to do about a week, 8 days ago. That's checkmate for them. That means they can't get their exports out and everybody else can. And it's the last card that they have left to play, and they're afraid we're going to do it. And I think the reason we suspended it is, I think, because the Gulf states were concerned that Iran would respond by attacking their energy infrastructure. And I think we discussed this, Chris, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was online or offline. So, but we can open it up when we want to, and if that happens, I mean, they're in real trouble now. But if that happens, I don't know what they can do. I mean, just shoot off whatever they got left and hope it hits something. I guess that's what we'll see.
Senator, I know it's hard to predict the future, of course, but with everything that's transpired to this point, I think we can say only those who want to ignore reality and facts would say that the U.S. hasn't been militarily completely triumphant along with Israel as to this. But now, reaching the next step, right, in this conflict whereby things can calm, oil prices can go back down, there's some stability. That seems to be the sticking point right now. As you just said, Iran is a completely paper tiger right now, but they continued to talk tough. I'm wondering do you think there's actual negotiations going on behind the scenes? Iran's thumping its chest in public, but behind the scenes, I'm sure there's a lot going on that we're not seeing. And most of it's probably controlled chaos, given how much damage the Iranians have suffered over the last 6 to 8 weeks. But what say you?
Yeah, when the president administration officials say that there are factions that they've been talking to, I believe that because it makes perfect common sense. I mean, they're not all sitting over there like a monolith saying to themselves, well, we're going to go down with this ship. We're going to end up in the bottom of the ocean with the ship. There have to be, and I'm sure there are factions. They're looking over each other's shoulders all the time. So it is possible we could get a negotiated solution. If we don't, and the timing is going to be up to the president, and also whether he launches a kinetic, or we launch a kinetic attack to increase the pressure. I mean, I think we're all sort of waiting to see what happens. But if we don't, then if we don't get a negotiated solution, I think we will have to move ahead with Operation Project Freedom, and we will have to open up the strait. And now, when I say open up the strait, the strait isn't actually closed because they could really hit anything. They've raised the risk to the point where, I mean, these are free market, these are private businesses where the insurance companies are worried about insuring and the freighters are worried about going. I mean, it's the question, how much can you lower the risk? And everybody I know, all the navalists and all these years tell me we can do it. We have done it in the late 80s. I think we can do that. And then then the oil from the other countries will start flowing out. I think as soon as it becomes evident that we can do that and will do it, you'll see oil prices settle down. But I'm not an oil man. You know what I mean? I don't. What I do know is that it's very sensitive to the futures market. So if people feel like a resolution is coming where it's going to start flowing, you're going to see prices start to drop because the price of people think the future price will be down. And there's a lot of trading in oil in that respect. Now, whether and how quickly it will go back to what it was, I don't know. And listen, I mean, when I was in office, I always said to myself on issues like this, look, Jim, you can afford to fill up, even if it's $1 a gallon higher. A lot of the people you represent can't. And you have to keep that in mind. It's the sacrifice that we're making for these achievements and this much greater margin of safety and security for our people. But we want it to end as quickly as possible. And I'm sure the president does too.
Senator, you say you're not an oil man, so we shouldn't call you JR Talent anytime soon?
No, I wouldn't. Not anytime soon. I mean, international trade, international business issues, fellows, it was never my cup of tea. And I'm too old a leopard to try and change my spots now. But I do know, and you can just see it, whenever there's a sense, so maybe they're going to get a resolution, you see the price of a barrel of oil drop down back into the low 90s. So I think eventually we're going to have to do that because I doubt we're going to get an agreement now. What we don't know is at what point the protesters hit the streets. We don't know what the plans are to support them, particularly from the Israelis. We have not seen a major cyber effort yet, at least that we've seen. I would expect that to be forthcoming. And so I think the collapse of the regime from that is a very distinct possibility.
Final question for you, Senator. Today marks the third and probably the final day of the ceasefire that was brokered by President Trump between Ukraine and Russia. President Putin said over the weekend, quote, "I think that the matter is coming to an end." He seems to be signaling that the war may be ending soon. Do you trust what Putin is saying here?
I think it's very plausible that for once he's not lying. He's been suffering a lot of damage with these long-range drone attacks and bigger damage to his credibility. Their offensive is pretty much stalled. The rates of casualties are even higher. And I read there's a leaked report that his intelligence agencies are planning about how to manage the post-war situation. I felt good reading it because it validated what I've been saying. It's always nice to have somebody say you might be right. That the reason Putin hasn't been negotiating seriously is because once the war is over, he's going to have to give an accounting to groups in Russian society he can't ignore, including what this leaked memo called the armchair patriots, the super patriots who think he's going to get to Kyiv. And when he can't, and all he gets is another few kilometers in the Donbass, they're going to start asking some questions. So, but I do think it's likely now that he's looking for an off ramp. At least I think it's very possible. Yeah,
and that's
because at some point it has to end, and it's not going to end with victory for him. And I think he knows it.
That's Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. On X, he's at Jim Talent. Senator, thank you as always for your time, and have a great week, and we'll speak with you next Monday.
Yeah, if you guys want to go to the comedy club with Jamie, let me know. I'm in.
We got a date. You coming?
Yeah, you let me know. Well, on the other hand, Brenda might not let me come out and play with you. So I can't swear on it.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Have a great evening. All right, Chris's Corner, the St. Charles County Council, Tim, I think, passed a resolution supporting moving school board elections to November. That's going to be the topic of Chris's Corner. School board elections belong to the voters. Of course, we'll have the Speaker's Stump speech at 5:06. We have a special guest.
We are hoping to have Representative Ben Keithley join us if he is able to tear himself away from the House floor this afternoon.
And then, of course, we'll speak with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com. What's the deal with this latest tariff ruling against Trump? All that coming up on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Look for Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Great night tonight. Cool and sunny in the morning, mostly sunny skies, a high of 84. It's going to be a warmer day. Plenty of sunshine during the day, too. In the evening, there is an isolated thunderstorm chance, maybe some small hail or gusty winds, but these are going to be very spotty, not a lot of moisture to work with. So I think many stay dry. Just a heads up that a spot thunderstorm is possible in the evening, mainly after 8 p.m. in St. Louis. And then on Wednesday, a little cooler behind that cold front, mostly sunny and a high of 76 for a pleasant day. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next, Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story. Sacrifices we never knew our parents made for us.
Larry Connors, USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL.
Let me ask you, is 2026 the year you finally buy that home? If it is, Royal Banks of Missouri is the kind of place you want on your side. Their mortgage team doesn't just hand you a note and send you on your way. They actually walk with you through the whole process. And that matters because that's not call center, no out-of-town decision maker. You're dealing with local people who know this market and are working for you. Now, maybe you're already in your home. You've been thinking about making it better, backyard upgrade, maybe a patio, maybe finally taking that family trip you've been putting off. That's where a home equity line of credit comes in. It gives you the flexibility to use the value you've already built in your home to actually enjoy your life a little more. It's simple, it's convenient, and it gives you peace of mind. Give them a call today at 314-212-1500 or visit royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com to get started. Royal Banks of Missouri, investing in our communities, one client at a time, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No.
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every word live on News Talk STL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate on June 2nd. Brought to you by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, Mid-Rivers News Magazine, Lewis and Clark's Pachyderms Club, and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fenceworks. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too, and we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The St. Louis Public School Board making it official, naming Dr. Myra Berry the district's next superintendent after serving as interim. She stepped in after the board fired former Superintendent Dr. Millicent Borishade with cause in October. Borishade's firing came amid questions about district finances. She is now suing the school district.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
School board elections belong to the voters. You ever notice how the people who constantly lecture us about saving democracy suddenly get nervous when more people are allowed to vote? That's exactly what's happening with the push to move Missouri school board elections from sleepy April dates to the high turnout November ballot. And let's be honest about what this fight is really about, because the real issue isn't election timing. The real issue is control. For years, school board elections have operated in the shadows. Low turnout, tiny voter pools, organized insiders dominating races, while most working parents don't even know an election is happening until after the results are in. And that's how activist groups, education bureaucracies, unions, and well-connected local networks have often maintained enormous influence over what happens in our schools. But now parents are paying attention. COVID changed everything. Parents saw curriculum fights, political ideology in classrooms, declining test scores, discipline breakdowns, secrecy from administrators, and suddenly school boards became one of the most important political battlegrounds in America. So now the Democrats' argument is, well, moving elections to November would make these races too political. Too political? These boards control your property taxes, your child's education, library books, curriculum, school safety, transgender policies, hiring decisions, bond issues worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But somehow, we're supposed to pretend these positions are above politics. No, what they really mean is more voters make outcomes less predictable because low turnout elections empower the radicals. That's point number one. When only a tiny percentage of the public votes, organized interest groups dominate the process. The average working parent, the mom driving kids to practice, the dad working overtime, often isn't tracking a random April election date. But in November, everybody's paying attention. Point number two, parents deserve a bigger voice. The education system exists to serve families, not the other way around. And if school boards truly believe they represent the community, then they shouldn't fear higher turnout. They should welcome it. Which brings me to point number three. The real fear is accountability. Because once more voters participate, the monopoly on information disappears. Suddenly, school spending gets scrutinized, curriculum decisions get debated, parents ask tougher questions, and board members actually have to defend their records publicly. That's not a threat to democracy. That is democracy. And let's remember, we elect governors in November, we elect senators in November, we elect presidents in November. So if democracy is good enough for governor, senator, and president, it's good enough for the school board. And that is Chris's Corner. Tim, I know you have a strong opinion on moving these school boards elections to November.
Mm-hmm. Could not agree more with it. That's my opinion. No, Chris, you're right. Look, Missouri has a massive problem. We are a state that has way too much government. And what I mean by that is proven by the facts. There was a study done recently, Chris, so if you were to add up all the taxing jurisdictions in the country, cities, counties, school districts, fire districts, water districts, whatever, all the taxing jurisdictions in the country. Chris, did you know that Missouri has over half of them? That's how fragmented. Yeah, we have like 2,300 some odd districts. And if Ben Keithley is able to join us, he's one of the people that knows those stats because he has spent most of his career fighting municipalities and school boards and things of that sort. Every one of those, Chris, has taxing power. And so they absolutely would be happy to be left up to their own devices in April, where they can gin up their base, get them to turn out in a low turnout election when most Missourians, unfortunately, are not watching, and pass every single bond and tax increase proposal known to man. So yes, the parties of democracy should be very happy to have more people participate. Let's have more people weigh in, Chris, on whether or not we should extend these bond proposals, whether or not we should add sales taxes to our already overburdened local and state tax burden that we have. So yes, we should have more voter eyeballs on these elections than the abysmal 15 to 18% turnout. I think we were cheering this year when a couple of areas got like a 20% turnout. That's nothing to write home about.
Yeah, that is pathetic, especially when this involves your children's education, your property taxes, the future of your community. And these teachers' unions have a great monopoly on that, so they need to be held more accountable. And I think having these elections in November does that. Tim, we know the Democrats in Virginia, they are gnashing their teeth over the Virginia Supreme Court ruling. The breaking news out within the last hour, Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones has argued that the state Supreme Court, listen to this now, this is incredible. He is arguing that the state Supreme Court misinterpreted federal law by treating, quote, an election as a single day rather than an ongoing process. And he further suggests the court improperly assumed the role of the state legislature in regulating federal elections. Look, that sounds like a good argument, but the basic crux of this is the Virginia Constitution says that whenever you have these type of ballot amendments, you have to have an election in between them, and that clearly didn't happen in this situation. So, I mean, this is a last attempt, desperate move, but I think the Virginia Supreme Court was very clear on the ruling. The state constitution is very clear, and what the Democrats aren't saying, you don't hear this narrative from them, is that the majority of the judges on the Virginia Supreme Court were appointed by Democrats, including the Chief Justice who wrote the decision.
Once again, Chris, the party of democracy is all for it until they get a result from our democratic republic system of government, Chris, that they don't like. And then not only do they want to just change the rules, they want to like implode and tear down the entire institution. You know, they're talking about, they're so desperate. They're so freaked out by what's happened in redistricting over the last few weeks, which is nothing more than the process. Look, I mean, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And both political parties have had lots of up and downs in this redistricting. But what do you not hear Republicans saying? You don't hear Republicans saying, yeah, we're gonna like shotgun a law through, and we're gonna make all the justices in Virginia retire immediately so we can then reload and repack the court. I mean, you don't destroy the institution just because you don't like the result, but that's always where Democrats go.
Yeah, and the legal analysis that I heard last week that they were saying that the Supreme Court is going to be very hesitant to get involved in a state law situation.
Indeed.
This is not a federal case. They're trying to turn it into a federal case, trying to determine when an election, what that actually means. But this is a state constitution. This is a state law. And you're the attorney. I mean, do you see the Supreme Court getting involved in something like this?
No. And, you know, there was some, let's put the shoe on the other foot. There was criticism of Donald Trump recently about him wanting to federalize some aspects of elections. And a lot of conservatives got nervous about that because, as you said, for the most part, especially when you're not dealing with a federal election issue, elections are in the sole and exclusive province of the state. Chris, the states have already conceded so much of their authority to the federal government over the last 250 years. Let's not concede anymore.
Yeah. I even heard talk, Tim, where the Democrats were saying that they're going to use these maps anyway, even though the Supreme Court threw them out. I mean, they're actually were discussing that, talking about using them anyway. So we shall see. I predict, as you do too, that this is not going to get anywhere in the Supreme Court. This is their last flailing effort to try to reverse this situation, but probably not going to happen. All right, 5:06, we're going to have the Speaker's Stump Speech with hopefully guest Representative Ben Keithley, and then we'll have our weekly discussion with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
A massive motion, do not know where it goes. I move with the movement and I have the touch. I'm waiting for ignition, I'm looking for a spark. Any chance collision and I light up in the dark. There you stand before me, all that fur and all that hair. I
that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same-as-cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump says he prevented Iran from gaining a nuclear weapon years ago in defense of allies in the region.
If the Obama deal wasn't terminated by me, they would have had it 6 years ago, and they would have used it immediately on Israel and also the rest of the Middle East. You saw that when they started shooting rockets. Nobody thought Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE were going to get hit, or Kuwait, Bahrain. I think it was a tremendous strategic mistake, and they wasted those missiles. We have the Patriots that knocked them down every time.
Trump spoke at the White House today saying the Iran's ceasefire is on life support after he rejected the country's latest proposal for not including a nuclear concession. There's jail time for 2 Israeli soldiers.
2 Israeli soldiers will spend weeks in military prison for desecration of a Christian object after one stuck a cigarette in the mouth of a statue of the Virgin Mary in southern Lebanon, and the other photographed it. The photo with the dangling cigarette went viral, sparking widespread outrage. That photo circulated days after images of another Israeli soldier wielding an axe against a statue of Jesus on the cross. That soldier also received military prison time. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A California man accused of storming the White House Correspondents Association dinner while armed with guns and knives has pleaded not guilty to charges he attempted to kill President Trump and fired a shotgun at a Secret Service officer. Cole Thomas Allen was handcuffed and shackled and wearing an orange jail uniform when he appeared in federal court. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 95 points. The Nasdaq rose 27. The S&P advanced 13. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this: Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Look 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Great night tonight. Cool and sunny in the morning, mostly sunny skies, a high of 84. It's going to be a warmer day. Plenty of sunshine during the day, too. In the evening, there is an isolated thunderstorm chance, maybe some small hail or gusty winds, but these are going to be very spotty, not a lot of moisture to work with. So I think many stay dry. Just a heads up that a spot thunderstorm is possible in the evening, mainly after 8 p.m. in St. Louis. And then on Wednesday, a little cooler behind that cold front, mostly sunny and a high of 76 for a pleasant day. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson. Mario's Donut Restaurant, that's your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches, omelets, delicious gyros, and Mexican dishes, to their revamped menu with cannolis, tiramisu, baklava, and danishes. And don't forget those famous donuts. Dine in or carry out, Mario's friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit, or just visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
If fishing is your passion, you need a shop that shares it. 367 Bait Shop and Fresh Fish, family owned and operated by brothers Ty and Tony Baker, has everything the serious angler needs. The widest selection of catfish bait, fresh fish, and quality fishing supplies, all at prices that won't break the bank. Their knowledgeable staff is ready to answer your questions. And while you're there, don't miss their delicious fresh fish fries. 367 Bait Shop on Benham and Spanish Lake, or visit 367baitandtackle.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs, a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education, because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding, because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I spoke to the president about the idea of a pause in the federal gas tax. The gas tax at the federal level is 18 cents a gallon, and I asked the president whether he was thinking about pursuing a pause to the gas tax. He said yes, he is, and he really seemed to warm up to the idea as we continued our conversation. He said, we're going to take off the gas tax for a period of time, and when gas goes down, we'll let it phase back in.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Well, for today's Speaker Stump Speech, the last week of the regular session here in the Missouri General Assembly's 2026 regular session, we have Representative Ben Keithley from the Chesterfield region. And Chris, before we get started with the back and forth, I want to let everybody know that Ben is a brand new dad. He and his wonderful wife welcomed another awesome little great American into the world just a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ben.
Thank you, Tim.
Getting any sleep?
Appreciate it. Not yet.
He's ready for the next 4 days to be over as well. Ben, a pretty decent session. Although many are saying even now with 4 days or 4.5 days or so left, that more could have been done, right? Not necessarily in the House, but there's a bunch of great House bills, one of yours actually, pending in the Senate, and they got plenty of time to get to them this week, but they don't seem too eager, do they?
I know. I think we've reached a point in Senate or in the session where, everything that was a great idea and is good is just about dead or close to dead, and the only stuff that's still kind of crawling to the finish line is some of the sludge going across.
Senator, we heard in that, Representative, we heard in that clip there that the president was open to temporarily getting rid of the federal gas tax. Several states have done that in their states. They've eliminated the state gas tax. Is that something that's being talked about in the legislature? And is that something the legislature can do, or is that something the governor can do on his own?
So we would have to change the statute to in order to roll back the gas tax. I haven't heard anyone talking about that here as we approach the last week, but I've always been, my door is always open for a conversation about putting more money in Missourians' pockets, and that would be one way to do it.
Representative Keithley, one of your priorities over the last several years has been something called the REINS Act, and I believe that's an acronym, REINS. For those who are completely unaware of that, would you explain what that is and why, as tedious as this may sound, because it deals with administrative rules and regulations, it would actually affect more Missourians' lives than most of the things that happen at the Capitol?
Yeah, most of the time when you call government and you have a problem, you're not talking to an elected official. You're not talking about not even addressing necessarily a statutory change. You're talking to the DOR. You're talking to Department of Transportation. You're talking to the Department of Education. You're talking Department of Conservation. All of the alphabet soup of state agencies we have. They're making rules every single day. They're enforcing rules every single day. Those rules create mountains of paperwork for businesses, for families, for Missourians. They add cost to everything we do. That is the red tape. What the REINS Act does, it says before any of these rules can go into place, if there's a significant financial impact to either government or to the private market, to private business or individuals, that the legislature has to approve those before they can go in effect. These rules they're really the laws that most of us live under. They influence just about everything we do. And they have no statutory basis. Your elected officials aren't choosing these things. It's unelected bureaucrats who choose these things. The unelected bureaucrats should not be the ones ultimately making laws or anything that have the force of laws. All that should go through your constitutionally elected officials.
Representative, one issue that Speaker Jones championed while he was in the legislature, and now that he's out of the legislature, is, of course, school choice open enrollment. I know SB 971 would allow public school students to attend schools outside their home districts beginning in 2028. Does that have any chance of getting across the finish line?
This is the first year since I've been here that the House has not passed an open enrollment bill. We've usually been the lead in getting something through. It's always on, by the skin of our teeth. We get some through the House and it goes over to die in the Senate. I think, I don't know how many times you can do that, send legislation over to the other side that they're not even willing to take up or even give any type of floor time to. 3 years, my first 3 years here, 3 times we sent open enrollment. There's been exactly 0 seconds of debate on the Senate floor for open enrollment in that time. I'll say, ultimately, I think what we've talked about in this building, those open enrollment bills aren't, there's a lot of optional to it. There's a lot of carve outs for certain areas. We are so far away from being able to have a real type of universal open enrollment that Missouri needs. But we need to advance that every chance we get and keep having that conversation.
So, Ben, to follow up on that, it seems that when Governor Kehoe puts his shoulder behind something, and this has happened 2 sessions in a row now, then the Senate leadership and those who maybe aren't necessarily in the movement conservative class, they tend to listen to the governor and follow his lead. The first year, it was the crime, the law and order bill, which had at its centerpiece the return of a state oversight to the St. Louis City Police Department. This year, it was the major tax cut bill. Ben, I'm hearing rumors that next year it might be universal school choice. Do you think that is what that topic that Chris brought up needs, is a governor push behind it? And what is universal school choice? What does that mean?
So I think there's a good chance that, Governor Kehoe, while he was a senator, was always a big proponent for education reform and for putting parents back in control of their children's educational decision making, and really the most important thing we can do is universal school choice. Universal school choice means parents decide where their kids get to go to school regardless of income, and that our public dollars exist for the purpose of educating children, not propping up systems. Our public school system has, in some cases, is become more of an adult jobs program than it is about educating students. That shouldn't be it. We can't fund systems over students. The funding is for the students. We've kind of lost sight of that in Missouri. Governor Kehoe has been a proponent of funding students instead of just the systems, and hopefully that's something we'll take up with a big governor push behind it.
Representative, one issue that really has a lot of Missourians' attention, of course, is property tax relief. There are multiple proposals that are floating around with senior freezes, assessment caps, and local government restraints. Will that get across the finish line by Friday?
So the avenues are narrowing for certain types of things. We still have one vehicle on property tax that is kicking with in a conference committee, and that's what we're working on right now. Trying to get that out of the conference committee with some real meaningful property tax reform for Missourians. It's probably our last chance in this session for delivering property tax to Missourians that most Missourians desperately want and have been asking for. There's a lot of proposals. It's kind of become a property tax reform omnibus. It's about getting a package put together that can make it back through both chambers once we send it out of conference.
Mm-hmm. And Ben, in the meantime, I believe that there is the opportunity for property tax reform to be accomplished through HJR 173, which provides the frame. You all passed that already. Now it's going to go to the ballot box so the voters decide. That's mainly providing the framework to phase down and eliminate the Missouri income tax. But I believe a major component, one of the four legs of the stool in the ballot summary language, does mention property and personal property tax relief. Is that accurate, and how would that work?
So the income tax elimination bill that everyone gets to vote on does include a mechanism whereby personal property and real property taxes can be reduced. If as part of that, in expanding the sales tax base, and that just means taxing things that are currently taxed at 0%. We have a lot of economic activity that on a sales tax side isn't taxed at all because there's various industry-specific carve-outs. We end all of that. That doesn't just result in money at the state level. There's money at the local level. This is required by the Constitution to be revenue neutral, which means local governments have to return that back to the taxpayer. Well, how do they do it? If you collect personal property tax and real property taxes, and you're now getting this other, that means this other new form of revenue. That means you have to cut everyone's property taxes in order to make it revenue neutral, which means if we expand that base, everyone gets a property tax cut too, if it's done by at the local government level.
Another issue that was getting a lot of attention a few weeks ago, but not as much, is child tax care credits. What is the status of that?
So that's always been that seems to usually that comes out of the House and then doesn't make it in the Senate. I've always been a critic of that bill because what we do in the child care tax credits current iteration that's been coming to this building does not give it to the families. It does not give it to the parents. It gives it to the daycare and the preschool companies behind it. It's corporate business tax credits for a specific industry. There's some problems with it. The voters actually said no a couple years ago to a similar bill on the ballot that would have given property tax breaks to daycare facilities. Recognizing the profit, that's insane. I have now 3 young kids. I've had 2 kids who have gone through daycare. I know how expensive these are and what kind of money is in because there's more of these daycare facilities popping up on just about every street corner. This does not seem like it's a place where we need massive subsidies being pumped in, certainly not in my neck of the woods.
Representative, let's talk about the budget. The budget was completed last week ahead of schedule. And from all of the news reports I've read and from what folks are saying here on the ground, there actually was a significant cut to the budget. Many of the more fiscal hawks, which you probably include yourself in that bunch, think that we need to do more, but this was a start. And I think it's important as waste, fraud, and abuse is being discovered all across the country, not just in Minnesota. Many people are saying, maybe government does have a spending problem, not a revenue problem, and we need to keep some of those funds in the private sector where they belong.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Now, the most recent budget certainly shows us heading in the right direction. It just doesn't show us heading that way anywhere fast enough. We are going to have a significant pinching next year too, even with the cuts that came in this year, and even harder, more difficult decisions are going to have to be made. If you weren't willing to cut some of that spending this year, well, what are you going to do next year? These are still going to be hard fights, but next year there's going to be less money to have these fights with. So we've left a lot of the hard work on the table for next year, but at least we've made some headway.
And finally, my good friend, the late Sherman Parker, he came in 2003. He was one of the first legislators that came in under the term limits that had taken effect, and he was the first class of those new legislators. I know there is a bill right now for term limits to give 16-year limit between the Senate and House. Don't see that passing, right?
I think that's come through a lot of these years too, and it somehow always stalls out. I've always been curious what that'll do on the ballot. It doesn't actually increase the amount of time someone can spend in the elected office, but probably increases the amount of people who will be there for that time, because you'll have a lot of House members who never try for the Senate, and once they eat up their 8 years, they'll just continue another 4, 6, 8 years on that way. I've always been supportive of that bill. I think right now we have a big institutional knowledge base that gets that is completely monopolized by the bureaucrats and by the special interests. They're all in the building for more than 8 years, but your elected officials who represent you are not.
Indeed. Chris, that's Representative Ben Keithley. We're going to let him get back to the House now. They're actually in session right now, so we're going to send him back over there so he can stop all the bad stuff and pass maybe a couple more good things before the hammer drops this Friday at 6 p.m. and the first regular session comes to an end. Ben, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Let's
sir.
sign and die.
Indeed. For sure.
All right, Tim, we're coming up. We're going to speak with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com. We'll talk about the Virginia Democrats taking their case on redistricting to the Supreme Court, and we'll talk about the latest tariff ruling against the president. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Look 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Great night tonight. Cool and sunny in the morning, mostly sunny skies, a high of 84. It's going to be a warmer day. Plenty of sunshine during the day, too. In the evening, there is an isolated thunderstorm chance, maybe some small hail or gusty winds, but these are going to be very spotty, not a lot of moisture to work with. So I think many stay dry. Just a heads up that a spot thunderstorm is possible in the evening, mainly after 8 p.m. in St. Louis. And then on Wednesday, a little cooler behind that cold front, mostly sunny and a high of 76 for a pleasant day. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribue, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hunters, we are about 2 months away from turkey season. Are you ready? Hey, it's Mike Ferguson here, and if you stop by and visit my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors, you will be. Whistle Pig is stocked with decoys from Avian X and DSD, clothing from Bandit and First Light, calls from Rolling Thunder and Woodhaven, plus Whistle Pig has those hard-to-find tungsten shells from Apex and Migra. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, Missouri. Just go to whistlepиgoutdoors.com.
This Susie Moore segment brought to you by Harpo's Bar and Grill in Chesterfield. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
A setback here for President Trump's tariff agenda. The Court of International Trade ruling late on Thursday that the 10% across-the-board tariffs are unlawful. So remember, these were essentially President Trump's replacement tariffs. He imposed these only after the Supreme Court invalidated the IEEPA tariffs in February.
We had two radical left judges that voted against it. So nothing surprises me with the courts. So we always do it a different way. We get one ruling and we do it a different way. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars from tariffs.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
Susie Moore, happy Monday. And again, didn't get a chance to speak to you last week about this. Happy Mother's Day. Belated Mother's Day.
Oh. Well, thank you, Chris. Happy Monday to you as well.
I thought you were going to say Happy Mother's Day to me, too.
Well, and that as well. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. You heard that clip there about the trade court ruled in favor of the president. This is just a small setback for him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it came as a huge shock to him. You kind of heard in his voice there, you know, he's kind of like, well, you know, they say no in one way, we'll try in another. Yeah. So this was, I mean, it boils down to this. There's like 5 or 6 maybe different ways that Congress has ceded its tariff levying authority to the president, to the executive, and there's different hoops you have to jump through for each one. And basically the courts are kind of taking the view that they're going to read that very narrowly and say, you know, the statute only gives you so much authority. We think you exceeded the authority, and that's what they're saying here. I don't know if they're right or wrong on this. I mean, the administration has already filed its notice of appeal on that. We may see kind of a repeat of what we saw earlier, but this is not the end of the line for tariffs. And, you know, ultimately it comes down to, okay, well, Congress, if you want to keep the power to issue levy tariffs yourself, then you need to actually exercise that authority. And if you want to grant that authority to the president, then you need to do so in a way that's not just basically hamstringing the administration, particularly when you're talking about using them not purely as a revenue generating tool, but more importantly as sort of like, you know, a trade bargaining tool.
Mm-hmm. So did you find it interesting that the media, like they're doing with this issue like they do with so many, they're not asking why Donald Trump is pursuing this tariff policy, right? Like, I don't really think Donald Trump's a big tariff. I don't think he's happy about tariffs. I think he understands that those costs in some cases, not in many, but in some do get passed on to consumers. You know, everybody talks about wanting freer trade, but I think what the president wants and has tried to point out in the last few years is that the U.S. needs more fair trade amongst its partners. It seems like most of the legacy media does not engage in that discussion point.
Well, most of the legacy media doesn't engage in any discussion point revolving around Donald Trump that, you know, involves an honest appraisal of what he is and isn't doing or saying. It all is about Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. So, you know, it could be something that they all thought was the greatest thing since sliced bread yesterday, but if President Trump says he likes it, then it's the worst thing ever. And that just seems to be the framing of the reporting over and over and over again. And, you know, I mean, in some instances, the reverse is true, too. There are some in the media who will only, you know, sing his praises and think he can do no wrong. But, yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to a fundamental disagreement between people about the you know, the what tariffs really are and when it's appropriate to issue them. I mean, yes, I mean, at heart, tariffs are a tax of one in some way, shape, or form, and the question is who ends up paying them. Well, that depends on how they're structured. But if you think that they're bad, no matter what, then I guess it doesn't matter whether it's Congress or the executive that's levying them. You just don't like tariffs at all. But if you recognize that this president is using all the tools at his disposal to try and, you know, use leverage against and with our trading partners, I shouldn't say against necessarily, but with our trading partners so that we're not getting the short end of the stick, I mean, I think you kind of have to take that bigger picture into consideration, and it shouldn't just be evaluated on A, is it Donald Trump, and B, you know, is taxes, tariffs, are they always bad?
Do critics of tariffs have a legitimate argument when they say that tariff and taxing jurisdiction is with Congress?
They do. It's laid out in the Constitution. It's plain as day. Where it becomes an issue is because in multiple instances, Congress has specifically passed legislation that has delegated that authority to the executive. And so, and particularly when you're talking about, trade deals, well, who's making those trade deals? It's the executive. They've got to have some tools. They've got to have some bargaining chips. So the question becomes, okay, how much of that should Congress delegate? And if they do, how much should Congress and courts get out of the way and let the executive cook, as they say?
Susie, are we going to see more tariff cases go to the Supreme Court? Do you think they're going to continue to circle up the ladder?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. This one, as I said, they're appealing. This was in the Court of International Trade, so they appeal it to the Federal Court of Appeals. And if it doesn't go their way there, will they appeal it to the Supreme Court? Probably. And then again, as I said, there's more than just this statute. There are several different statutes under which tariffs can be levied via the executive, via executive proclamation. And so I think that President Trump's team is well aware of the uphill battle they have on this front, and they're doing what they can to kind of have Plan B and Plan C and Plan D lined up to continue using this leverage.
Speaking with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com. Susie, speaking of the United States Supreme Court, the Virginia Attorney General today did a filing with them to try to overturn the Virginia Supreme Court's ruling. Listen to this argument. And he's saying that the state Supreme Court misinterpreted federal law by treating an election as a single day rather than an ongoing process. Is he serious?
Oh, he's serious as a heart attack because they don't like the way that the Virginia Supreme Court ruled, and they're going to pull out all the stops. Now, there's no way to know for sure until the Supreme Court makes its ruling on this. I suspect they'll move pretty quickly on it, and my hunch is that they're going to deny the application for a stay because this isn't really their business. They tend to let state Supreme Courts interpret state constitutions and stay the heck out of it. So I'm not sure how it will shake out, but I don't think this is going much of anywhere. But certainly the Virginia Democrats are putting up a valiant effort now that their finally hatched scheme isn't working out the way they wanted it to.
Susie, we didn't, I don't think we talked about this much last week, but there was another major incident of violence right in Washington, D.C. involving the executive branch. A gunman opened fire near the vice presidential motorcade last week on the National Mall. That person is now in custody and facing federal charges. You wrote a piece on this just a few days ago. What can you tell us about this, and what the heck is going on?
Yeah, this is an unusual, unfortunately, it's becoming a highly usual situation, but this was just a few blocks south, I think, of the White House, and it was in the proximity of the vice presidential motorcade. It's not clear yet what this guy's, what his target was, but he was armed with a gun that he wasn't legally allowed to carry in D.C. if you believe that D.C.'s gun laws are, constitutional, which that's a separate issue. But as of right now, the laws they've got on the books, this was not a legal carry situation. It's a 45-year-old man from Texas named Michael Marks. And he, began basically undercover agents or plainclothes agents in the area saw him and saw the print of the gun. They realized that he was carrying. So they called in for backup, and his agents approached him. He began running, and then he shot at an agent and unfortunately hit a 15-year-old kid instead. Thankfully, he hit him in the leg, and it was not a life-threatening injury, and I think that the kid is expected to be okay. But then he was quickly brought down by agents and has been charged with assaulting, resisting, impeding certain officers, possession, brandishing of a firearm, unlawful possession of a firearm, all those good things, all of which are felonies and carry multiple years penalties to them. I don't think that I'm sure he hasn't entered his plea yet. I think that's just getting underway because this just happened a few days ago. But the one thing that we haven't seen like a manifesto. We haven't seen any online pictures of him like we saw with the gunman at the White House Correspondents' Center. But he was quoted when he was being taken to the hospital as saying, F, bleep the White House, and kill me, kill me, kill me. So he apparently has some anger issues.
I think so. Justin, state representative of Tennessee, Justin Pearson. He is a real work of art. He was upset because the lone Democratic district in Tennessee is going to be redistricted out. He's just another Jasmine Crockett because a few years ago, he had a nice short haircut, spoke like he was a lawyer. Now he has the big 70s pick afro. He is trying to reincarnate himself into Malcolm X and Martin Luther King all in one. Tell us about Justin Pearson. He is a real work of art, isn't he?
I think he is gunning for an Oscar, to be honest. He is a performative character.
He is, man.
Yes, it is all about the viral, just the performance. So, of course, when the Tennessee legislature passed the measure to redistrict, he was, one of the ringleaders, creating an uproar in the state house and howling at state troopers who were trying to escort people out and kind of get things under control. He was not happy about that. He's got this picture that he posted that was of him supposedly trying to access the hearing about redistricting. Well, it was a Senate hearing. He's not a senator. So, yeah, he's all about the performance and the clicks and the media attention. And we're going to continue to see him over and over again because apparently that's, benefiting him in some way, shape, or form. But the thing that still just blows my mind away about the Tennessee situation is the one district, was held by Steve Cohen.
Yeah. A white guy.
Who is, last time I checked, it's not a black guy. And this opens it up. I mean, there's I think one of the strongest Republican candidates who's expected to run for that district is a black Republican woman. But no. But somehow this is racist. I don't understand.
Yeah, Susie, they've kind of torn the Band-Aid off, right? And are just they're not saying it, but they're definitely showing it with their actions that none of this has anything to do, honestly, with race or with fairness in their minds. It's all about political power, right? I mean, they literally on CNN last week, when confronted with the question, I think Scott Jennings asked the other panelists, so it's racist if a black Republican woman replaces a white Democrat guy? And one of the commentators was so mad and not thinking sensibly, I guess she said, well, of course it's racist. And then you have them in Virginia basically threatening to terminate the entire Virginia Supreme Court and just start all over again. So, Susie, this is all about political power, isn't it?
It's exactly what it's about. Hell hath no fury like a Democrat scorned. Really what it is, so, because racial gerrymandering is not lawful and is not constitutional, what they've done is dress partisan gerrymandering up in the kind of reverse racism cloak to protect it. And in the name of thwarting racial gerrymandering, have done the exact opposite in the opposite direction. But really what it is, as you said, Tim, it's about preserving political power. And nothing demonstrates that more than when you just look at the way the districts are drawn in the heavily gerrymandered states. If you look at Missouri's new map, you don't have weird lobster claws. You don't have spaghetti noodles stretching out across the state. You do have that compactness that's required. You do have that. I mean, I don't know where this is ultimately going to end up, but the good thing is the Supreme Court has made it pretty clear you can't racial gerrymander to do away with racial gerrymandering.
Susie, one of the reasons why there was 32 years in between my last two cruise ship vacations is because I'm very fearful of going on this cruise and get a hantavirus or some type of epidemic. I know the 17 Americans that were on that ship are heading back to the United States. Now, they kept saying all last week, these 17 Americans, they're anti-symptomatic, they don't have symptoms, everything is safe. And now we're learning today that two of them have come down with symptoms. Your thoughts or the latest on the hantavirus epidemic on the cruise ship.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thoughts are I'm of two minds on it. It's a serious illness and obviously needs to be taken seriously. There need to be appropriate precautions taken with the people that have been exposed. Fie on the ornithologist who decided to explore an Argentinian dump to get a better look at a bird and exposed himself to rat droppings in the process.
So that's how it spread? I didn't hear that. So that's how it spread?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's how it got started.
Got it.
But that said, I feel like a lot of the hype over this is a combination of media looking for the clicks and maybe public health officials and politicos who love the thrill of power that they got from COVID and want to see if we can do another redo.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And as I said in my morning minute today, it ain't happening. Sorry.
No.
We're not going to play that game again. So I just feel like this is one of those things that's maybe being overblown. While I don't mean to dismiss the seriousness of the illness itself, I think that it's the threat there is being overblown.
Yeah, Susie, I had to look up hantavirus because I had never heard of it, but I've never heard of many of these different viral outbreaks, or we've forgotten them, right? Because Susie, there are a multitude of viral outbreaks that occur all across the planet, and thankfully, most of them pop up. They run through their little hot zone period, and then they go away. And this has been happening since mankind began. Susie, I found that hantavirus was identified back in the 1970s, and it has been popping up and down over the last 50, 60 years. And thankfully has never become massively widespread. Susie, is part of the problem, though, because of the government's reactions to the COVID outbreak. If we did have something serious, like really, really, really serious, that was very spreadable, which hantavirus appears not to be, the danger is that some people may not take these future outbreaks seriously if there is a contagious one.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I mean, we called this way back during COVID. I mean, I had an article I know that was called "The Experts Who Cried Wolf," and I was not the only person who thought of that analogy, but that's what ended up happening. There was such an overreaction in regard to COVID that, I think we're a good 5, 10, 15 years out from people having forgotten the trauma of that enough to be like, okay, the next time the government says, hey, you gotta lock yourselves in your house. You got to put a mask on. You got to stand 6 feet away from that person next to you. I think we basically were like, no, you had your chance. You blew it. You completely abused our trust. You completely violated people's constitutional rights. And, for what good it did. And we're not doing it. So, yeah, I think it's the backlash from that is, God help us if there's something more serious that we should be listening to public health officials on. They did such a bang-up job with COVID. We're not going to. Sorry.
And finally, Susie, last week, the government released their big tranche of UFO files. Da-na-na-na. Are we alone?
I don't know, Chris. I haven't had a chance to go through them, to be honest.
I thought that would have been like front page. You guys would have been all over that.
Well, no. We did cover it, but like much of the media, we're trying to cover 8,000 things all at once. And the thing is, who would have thought that when you release the UFO files, they're going to land with a thud? But that's what happened. It's like everyone's too preoccupied with other stuff, and they can't pay the aliens any mind, which is probably how the aliens want it to be. So
probably. That's Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com and co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning. She's also host of Red State Radio on Sundays at 4 p.m. Smoozy Q on X, RedState.com. Susie, thank you so much for your time, and go get some rest.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Excellent. All right, we are at the end of the show, 5:43. We're going to talk about a tariff that President Trump removed just for King Charles, and I think, Tim, it'll make both you and I happy. That's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Look 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Great night tonight. Cool and sunny in the morning, mostly sunny skies, a high of 84. It's going to be a warmer day. Plenty of sunshine during the day, too. In the evening, there is an isolated thunderstorm chance, maybe some small hail or gusty winds, but these are going to be very spotty, not a lot of moisture to work with. So I think many stay dry. Just a heads up that a spot thunderstorm is possible in the evening, mainly after 8 p.m. in St. Louis. And then on Wednesday, a little cooler behind that cold front, mostly sunny and a high of 76 for a pleasant day. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, just want to remind you all that the Jeff Hansen Memorial Shoot is this Saturday morning in Old Monroe up there in Lincoln County. I went last year. I'm going to hit the event this year. They always have I'm going for the food. They've got a great breakfast and lunch. And then I'll run around and say hi to a bunch of the shooting teams and stuff. Chad always puts on a great event with his aunt, Jeff's sister, Debbie McFarland, Debbie and Dave McFarland. They always put on a great event. It's really fantastic. They all the money goes to charities of their choosing, and they always select some great ones. Freedom 13 was one of their recipients last year. You can go to newstalkstl.com, and up there on our rotating banner, right there on the front page, newstalkstl.com, get all the information about the Jeff Hansen Memorial Shoot this Saturday. Now, Hansen's Tree Service, which Chad has been running ever since his dearly beloved father left us on this earth, doing great work. And they are very busy in the spring, but they are not too busy to take care of you as well. I just checked out their website, and they've done a redesign. It looks really cool. So go to hansenstree.com, and each of the things I always talk about when I talk about Hansen's Tree Service, each of the items now has its own like big giant graphic on the website. And so if you want to learn more about tree removal, you click that big button. If you want to learn more about their organic mulch, which is the magic bean, then you click that button. Hassle-free quotes, green waste recycling, tree and plant healthcare, land clearing, and more. Each of them has like its own big giant button as you scroll down hansenstree.com. Really cool. I love the redesign. It's really cool. So there's a lot of things you can do at hansenstree.com. You can find how to contact them. They got the emergency service line up in the top left-hand corner. That's the business line. You don't have to go hunting for numbers anywhere. Just go to hansenstree.com, call that number, whether it's during business hours or after hours, and they will take care of you. Like I said, you can order mulch online, apply for hassle-free estimates, all that and more. Hansen services the entire St. Louis metro, and now they will help you at the Lake of the Ozarks as well. So if you have a little fishing lot down there, or if you have a McMansion or you have something in between, they'll help you get down there, clean out everything, all the damage that Old Man Winter and early spring storms have done, and they'll have it all ready, lickety-split, ready to rock and roll for all your summer fun and activities. So get a hold of them today. Get your home cleaned up, get your business cleaned up. No job too big or too small for Hansen's Tree Service. 24/7, they're at hansenstree.com, hansenstree.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore with a reminder that for 20 years, Harpo's Chesterfield has been the heart of West County's fun. With their award-winning patio, voted best in West County, and excellent sports bar atmosphere, Harpo's is your one-stop destination. The mouth-watering menu has made them famous throughout St. Louis. Plus, they've got great drink specials and the friendliest, most energetic staff around. Whether you're dining in or carrying out, Harpo's delivers fun, food, and drinks like no one else. Harpo's Chesterfield. Call 636-537-1970 or visit harposstl.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Today, the man accused of attempting to assassinate President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner pleading not guilty to the charges against him. Wearing an orange prison jumpsuit with his hands and feet shackled, Cole Thomas Allen looked at the ground as the 4 federal charges against him were read in court. The California native did not speak during the hearing. But Allen's defense today arguing they might seek to have the entire U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia recused. He argued that both Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for D.C., and the Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche were at the dinner and could potentially be victims of the very prosecution they're overseeing.
5:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, I don't have a law license, but I think I could try that case and get a conviction. What about you?
I think you do just fine. I mean, they kind of caught the guy red-handed, you know?
Video, you know.
Million cell phones. I mean, think about the witnesses you have. They're like professional witnesses, Secret Service agents, police officers. I mean, it all happened right in front of them. I'm not sure what this guy's going to be angling for if he takes this to trial. He probably better take the best deal that is offered to them, or they're going to throw the book at him.
I agree with you on that. And, Tim, a article in the Washington Post today said many Americans think the Trump assassination attempts were fake. Nearly 1/4 of Americans basically baselessly think the shooting was faked, according to a survey by NewsGuard. Roughly 1 in 3 Democratic respondents said they believe that the event was staged, compared with about 1 in 8 Republicans. My only question, Tim, is what the hell is wrong with these people?
Well, Chris, there's people that think we never went to the moon, and there's probably people that think we didn't just fly around the moon. There's conspiracy theories about 9/11. There's conspiracy theories about JFK. I mean, anything that people apparently. We have doubting Thomases, Chris, apparently with everything. And so what do these people want to do? Do they need to experience everything firsthand? Because, Chris, some of these things were nationally televised, and we still have conspiracy theories around them.
And do these people realize that in Pennsylvania, a man lost his life and another person was seriously injured, and the president had blood all over his ear because of this, and they say that this was staged? I mean, does the president's people, I guess they believe that he was behind this, are so desperate to try to set up a faked assassination attempt that if somebody gets murdered, an innocent man who has children gets murdered, well, that's a part of the price? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Crazy.
you know, look, in all seriousness, there are some conspiracy theories that have come absolutely true, right? And it generally involves when we on the center-right side of the political spectrum are questioning things that people on the center-left side of the spectrum are doing. And, you know, with everything with COVID and everything and so forth. That's a very different case than someone being shot and killed. And yeah, that's a really great point you just made. Do people really believe that the Comparatori family wanted their dad, a 50-year-old volunteer fire chief, to be killed at a rally? I mean, is he part of the conspiracy? I mean, do people really believe that Corey Comparatori is still walking around somewhere? No, he was hit with the bullets and he died and he's gone, and it's very sad. And so for people to say that was a conspiracy theory, Chris, that just makes that poor family have to relive all of that all over again, and it's a horrible way. So there are things that are conspiracy theories that we can all wonder about, with UFOs and the JFK assassination and so on and so forth. But when you see something on live television and a man has died, can we please just admit that that actually did occur?
And excuse me, speaking of crazy people, after camping out on top of the Frederick Douglass Bridge in Southwest D.C. for 6 days in protest of wars in Iran and Palestine and AI, Guido Reichstadler was removed from the structure last week. Tim, he was taken into custody and has been charged obstructing or incommoding. Is that a legal term? Never heard of that before. Incommoding, unlawful entry, and failure to obey an officer. Yes, INCOMMODING, incommoding.
Was he pooping?
I guess so. That's what I was thinking. It's not like commode. Never heard of that term before.
We just learned a new word today.
Incommoding.
Incommoding.
You can be charged with incommoding.
Yeah, never heard of this. Here's your SAT word for the day. Incommoding is the present participle of the verb incommode, which I've also never heard of.
Right.
Meaning to cause trouble, inconvenience, discomfort, or disturbance. So, Chris, next time Jeff Allen starts harassing us,
yeah,
we're going to say he's incommoding us. Yes.
And it doesn't sound very Latin. I mean, usually
It
the law
doesn't.
terms sound like a Latin term. I guess that doesn't sound Latin. Okay.
Like Joey said, it sounds like someone having a bathroom distress.
Yeah, I'm incommoding, and you can arrest me for that. Tim, the president did something, I think, last week regarding his tariffs that you and I would both be happy about. He said he would be removing some whiskey tariffs following a visit from King Charles III. He said, quote, I will be removing the tariffs and restrictions on whiskey having to do with Scotland's ability to work with the Commonwealth of Kentucky on whiskey and bourbon, two very important industries within Scotland and Kentucky. Kentucky's bourbon industry, which has suffered from both retaliatory tariffs and disruption of the supply of used barrels to Scotland for aging whiskey. So, Tim, there will be no more tariffs on Scottish whiskey.
God bless America. That helps us out. And let me tell you, nothing beats a fine single malt scotch in the dead of winter. It's hard to drink it in July, okay? But let me tell you, in the fall, the winter, you get yourself a good single malt. And if you want Chris and I to do a show on that someday, I'm sure we can compare notes. But one of my favorites is Macallan.
Yeah,
I love the Macallan.
My wife loves that.
It's so good. I actually got to visit it once. I've been to Scotland one time in my life. And I said, okay, I've never been here before. I don't know if I'll ever be back. So I want to go to the Macallan. And Chris, there's a little on the Macallan label at the top. There's a little like white house, like a little house that exists. We got to the property. We got to the distillery. That's the old family home. That's the Macallan home. And it's still there. It was built in like the 1600s. And I saw that and I wanted to weep. I was like, oh, it's the Macallan family manse. How wonderful.
That is one of our bucket list trips. Of course, my wife is of Scottish descent. Her last name is Davidson. And so we want to go to Scotland, and we'll have to visit the Macallan house.
Chris, I have a tip for you.
Oh, yeah.
Go in the summer. Do not go in the winter.
Yeah, well, I said that, and she's like, we were talking about going like a couple of years ago, and it was like in February or March. She was like, no, I don't want to go in the winter. I want to go in the summertime when it's warm. We talked about this last week. Joey reviewed the Billie Eilish concert film, and we had talked about how a lot of these top acts are not selling out. The music industry isn't being shaken by a wave of canceled gigs. Meghan Trainor, Zayn Malik, Post Malone, the Pussycat Dolls, and all others have all dropped or delayed major tours in recent days. Their stated versions varied, but Page Six News quotes a music insider saying Malone had been hit by blue dot fever, referring to blue unsold seats on Ticketmaster seating charts. Other artists also acknowledged poor sales. So, Joey, are people saying that the music sucks, or they just don't want to pay the ticket prices?
Good
Which
news.
one is it?
Billie Eilish, the movie I hated, came in 5th place this
good.
weekend. Only made $7 million domestic, so I was right.
Joey, you were right.
Wow, and they probably paid the director probably about 20 times that.
Oh, of course. James Cameron, he don't leave the house for less than $20 million.
Probably. All right, Tim, you going to be in Jeff City tomorrow?
I'll be in Jeff City tomorrow. We'll get one final briefing from the legislative session, Chris, then I'll be back in studio with you guys on Wednesday.
All right, we will speak with you tomorrow from the Jefferson City Bureau. Up next is Larry Connors USA, the story behind the story, the sacrifices our parents made for us. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
When you count on Connor.